Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there. This is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franzi Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franzi Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franzi.
Well, hello and welcome to the show. I am Jay Franzi, and this is your backstage pass to the entertainment industry. This week, we get to talk with an up-and-coming recording artist. We get to talk with Makenzie Phipps. We'll talk to her about how her early days in Virginia have shaped her career to this point, what her production process is like, and we'll discuss those who have influenced her as well as those she would like to collaborate with. Now, Makenzie is not only an amazing talent, she is an amazing person, and I can't wait to talk with her tonight. So, if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jfranzi.com. Now, let's get started. Makenzie, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
It is my absolute pleasure. I cannot thank you enough for being here. I am truly looking forward to this. So let's just get started. Can you tell me how the early days growing up in Virginia has shaped your career to this point?
Yes. So like you said, I was born and raised in Virginia. I was born in a small town called Bluefield. It said that we had around 5,000 people. I don't know if that's still true because that was a Google search like from 2021. But I was born right on the Virginia-West Virginia line. For those that do not know, there's actually a Bluefield, West Virginia and a Bluefield, Virginia. I really need to look up why there's two, but it is a very big deal where I'm from that there is a Bluefield, Virginia and a West Virginia. But I was born and raised there my entire life up until last year where I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And it has definitely been a lot different being in Nashville, the big city, compared to a small little town like I was in. But I got started singing at a very young age. My parents always talk about the Lord always knew I was going to sing. The Lord put me on the earth to sing, and that was just one of the very first things I ever did growing up. I started singing when I was 4. My mama, she's actually the one that got me into singing at church when I was younger. So I just got started singing in a little church down in Abbs Valley, which is a town outside of Bluefield. And from that moment on, it was history. I've always been in music.
Well, let me ask you. You talk about starting when you were 4 years old. Did you actually understand the talent that you had when you were 4 years old?
That's always a good question because, of course, there's people out there that are born with perfect pitch. I have a couple of friends that were born with it. I have relative pitch. I didn't know that was a thing till I got older. And when I was younger, I just would always listen to a song and remember how it sounded, whether it was on the Barney theme song. I used to sing that when I was a little girl, or my mama would show me different gospel songs that I listened to. Like I especially listened to the Crab Family when I was younger, and I would listen to how they sang, and I would sing it. So I would say I did, for the most part, know how to sing. I never had a lesson to learn how to sing. I just always knew how to sing, and I guess I was blessed in that way. But music always came natural to me. It's like second nature, and it's always going to be that way.
Well, I only ask because I've worked in the music industry for just about 35 years at this point, and I couldn't sing a note for the life of me. There has to be some sort of natural ability when you go through this.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like my mom. So my mom always jokes all the time. I got my gift of singing, I guess, from her side of the family. All of her uncles were very musically oriented. My late Uncle Ronnie, he'd actually written a couple songs for Johnny Cash's brother, Alison Krauss, Crystal Gale, everything like that. She always says it skipped her. It skipped a generation because my mom can hold a note fairly well, but she's definitely not a singer. I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching this, but she will definitely agree. And I don't know, that's always been one thing that's been difficult to explain because I guess at the end of the day, it is a God-given talent. And in some aspects, people are able to be taught how to sing. But when I was younger, I was just singing whatever came out of my mouth and hoping it sounded good.
I would think you have to have some sort of natural ability, or at least the ability to hear.
Right.
And not everybody has the ability to hear pitch or to be able to hear it and then replicate it. So, pretty cool. All right, well, let's jump into your music because you've got some tunes out and some things going on that I want to get into that for somebody, and forgive me for saying, but for somebody who's so young to be doing so much is pretty impressive. But let's start with 18 Wheels. Can we discuss how that came about?
Yes, so first off, thank you for saying that I'm young. I do not feel young in the slightest bit. I turned 22 back in February, and I literally feel like I'm 99 years old. My back hurts. I go to bed usually at like 8:30. I rarely ever go out unless it's for a show or an event. But yeah, 18 Wheels was actually written by my backup singer and guitarist, Shane Begley. I did not write that song. And how that song came about was I was actually asked to come and perform at the 50th Mid-America Trucking Show anniversary that was held in Louisville, Kentucky back in 2022. And I was trying to think of songs about truck drivers and everything like that. And my PR had actually mentioned, well, what if y'all came up with a song in honor of all truck drivers in the world? So Shane got on it. That man can write a song about anything and everything. I cannot. I was not blessed with that ability. I write whenever it comes to me. But when he wrote that song, he not only wrote it just for truckers in general, but the whole storyline of the song is just a tear-jerking, just to the heart song. I mean, it's about a girl that had a father that was a trucker, and he was on the road a lot, making sacrifices with his family just to be able to provide not only for his family, but everybody else in the world. And she basically reminisces on the times that her dad was on the road and was a truck driver, and he unfortunately passes. So that has her getting in his truck and remembering all the memories that he spent on the road. And I think Shane did a very good job at just captivating that story. And I hope all the truckers out there very much appreciate the song because it is in honor of all of their hard work, and we just very much appreciate it. And, you know, I do relate to it in some way because I actually had a couple of uncles that were truckers as well. They were always out on the road, and especially where we lived in Virginia, we were in a coal town, especially where they were. They were outside of Bluefield and the smaller towns around it, and they were on the road a lot having to provide for their family because back then, it was definitely a job that was, everybody needed a trucker at that point, and they just were away from their family and friends for long periods of time just to be able to provide for everybody and for their family. And I mean, it is a very sacrificing job, and I feel like a lot of people out there really do not put that into perspective enough.
I used to want to do that when I was a kid. To this day, I still love to drive. I mean, I drive everywhere. But your partner, Shane, did he also have a chance to play the song in the studio?
So on the recording, he did not. So Shane is a man of many talents. He can play all different kinds of things. He plays drums, bass, guitar, piano, a little bit of mandolin, a little bit of banjo. He can play a whole bunch of different things. But he actually had the guitarist on that. His name was Nate Duggar. And he actually had him kind of replicate what he does because, of course, when we do it at our shows, it sounds a little bit different compared to how it is on the track. It's overall the same feel, but when you have two guitars and not a whole band behind you, it can sound a little different. But that was one thing we definitely wanted to keep into the song was how Shane did the intro. So the intro is played the exact same way that Shane plays it. It was just played by Nate.
Where did you record the song?
Yes, so I recorded this song with Mr. Sal Oliveri. I recorded it when I came down to Nashville in, I think it was 2022. Everything is just running together at this point. But when I had gotten introduced to Sal, I was actually introduced to him by Shane. And he remembers Sal from his previous time that he used to be in a band in his younger days. And he'd reached out to him and sent him a couple of our material and was like, hey, if you'd be interested in recording these, we would love the chance to work with you. And thankfully he was interested. So I went to the studio with him and I recorded 3 songs that Shane wrote and I had co-written on one of them. And then the other 3 he had actually pitched to me. So I had in return let out 6 singles over the course of a couple of months leading into a year and such. But I think he did a very good job at producing this song and really bringing out the emotion in it.
Well, let's take a step further on that. What producing style did he have?
So Sal, he is a very hands-on guy, and he has such a intricate ear. I mean, you could be doing something that could be like so minute, and he will tweak it just a hair, and it makes all the difference. And he's very hands-on. Of course, he has an amazing group of musicians that come in. They're insanely talented. One that I've grown very close with, his name is Gordon Moat. Some people may know him from being in the gospel Christian genre because he is just an insanely talented pianist in that realm. He also plays for a bunch of different people, has played for everybody and anybody. But he brings in all of these amazing musicians, and he brings all of us in together, and we just go over how we want the song to go, and then they just go with it and run. And I think that they did a fantastic job on all of these songs.
Well, that's cool. Now, I've worked with Gordon in the past myself, so I'm aware of his talents. What studio did you record this in?
So when we had done them, 5 of the songs were recorded in the sound engineer's studio, which was Randy Poole. And then the last song that we had added to our repertoire, because I originally was going in and doing 5 songs, but the last song that we had added, which was You Bring the Beer, I'll Bring the Noise, was actually done at Blackbird Studio.
Martina McBride's studio. It's, one of the biggest studios in Nashville.
That was a very last minute change of events. But yeah, we had done all of the band portion of the songs at Randy Poole's studio, which was awesome. And then we had cut all of the vocals at Sal's studio.
Randy, I remember him too. So you go in the studio, you record it in a traditional Nashville way where the musicians come in the room, they get directive by a leader, and then they go in the control room, and then just a few minutes later you have a song. So you track that down. You probably do a few overdubs, maybe guitar solos, that type of stuff. And then when do you go in to sing? Do you go in that same day, or is it on a different day?
It's usually about the day or two afterwards. And then I would go in and I would sing for a couple of hours, depending on how long the song would be to work on. But you do it in bits and pieces. I feel like a lot of people don't know that. So when you go in and you record, especially with vocals, so they do like for you to do kind of like a run through of the song to kind of get used to it, especially if it's been tweaked a little bit of how you originally had it made. And then after that, they kind of cut it up into pieces. So they'll ask you, sing this first verse, and then we're going to do that a couple of times, then do the chorus, do the last part of the verse going into the chorus. So there's a whole lot involved with being in the recording studio, but at the end of the day, it is definitely worth it. The method to their madness is needed, and trust your producer, because there's been certain times where they've had me do things and I'm like, I don't know what they're thinking. And then I listen to it at the end and I'm like, okay, they were right.
So was this your first time in a studio like that?
That was my first time in a Nashville recording studio. Before that, I had done a little bit of production in Knoxville at Promotion LLC, their studio. They had helped me a lot at the time with booking shows. They had helped with some media content, as well as doing production for music videos and just songs to be put out. So I had done that, but as far as being in a Nashville studio, he was the first one that I had ever been with. And I was pretty fortunate, because I will say not a lot of people in this world get to say that they got to work with Sal Oliveri. And I mean, he's worked with some pretty incredible people. I mean, he's produced for Chris Stapleton and Pink and so many other amazing artists out there. So I'm just very fortunate and blessed for all of the opportunities that I've been given.
You're 100% right. When you talk about the opportunity to go into a studio and record like that, it's absolutely amazing. But the band does go in at one time, and they go in the room literally without ever hearing the song before. They hear it for about 30 seconds. They read over a piece of paper, and then they go into the room and record it. And that song's recorded in about 3.5 minutes later. So the meat of the song is recorded that way, and then usually the singer goes in a day or two later to go ahead and record their vocal parts, typically in a smaller studio and when they're without that full band. But that's pretty impressive that you got to do that.
Yes.
What was your biggest memory from that?
I mean, just getting to see how everything was done, because when I had recorded with Promotion back in Knoxville, actually majority of the instrumentation that was done on those songs, which was on the song Maybe, Christmas Snow. I did do a recording of a song called Life's Game, which is currently unreleased. But with those songs, believe it or not, majority of that instrumentation was done by Shane.
That's awesome.
So you had the drums done by Shane, you had the bass, the acoustic lead stuff going on. I would play rhythm, but a lot of that was done by Shane.
Well, then Shane has too much talent.
Yes, he does. And I was very new to how Nashville musicians work, because Nashville musicians are a different breed of musicians.
They really are.
Because like you said, I mean, it amazed me that we had cut 5 songs and they all would just listen to the song, how it was done, and they had their charts. So in Nashville, they have a charting system where they line up like all of the chords for verse 1, chorus, verse 2, bridge, pre-chorus, intro, break, however you want to put it. And they have the key, the tempo, everything like that. And they just look at everything. And like you said, they'll just go in, they'll do a couple of takes of it and be like, all right, let's go get sushi or something. like it is incredible. I cannot do that. My mind does not process like that. I have been getting better at reading charts. I will say that is a personal accomplishment for myself, because I have had a lot of people out there in the industry talking about there is actually a lot of singers in Nashville that do not know anything about the charting system. And I did definitely take to heart trying to learn it and become semi-familiar with it. I am not a musician by any means.
Oh, come on. I've seen you play the guitar.
I can play the guitar a little bit, but I can't do like the lead stuff, all the fancy work. I'm just there to keep the rhythm so that Shane and anybody else that's playing guitar for me can do all the rest of the work. But yeah, it is incredible seeing that. So that's definitely one of the most memorable things, was just seeing how they worked and just seeing how their minds worked without even seeing their mind. It's just incredible.
Well, just for clarity, you mentioned the charting system. It's the Nashville number system, and it's based on, the scale of a song. But for the outsider who's never seen it before, it could almost look like chicken scratch. I mean, it's just a bunch of lines and numbers on a piece of paper. Right. You don't really understand it until you dig in and kind of learn the layout of it. But it's not hard once you learn it. Matter of fact, it's much easier than reading traditional music, and it allows you to not only pick up a song very quickly, but it also allows you to change the key if necessary. Just makes life a lot easier as a musician, but it is something that you need to learn if you're going to record a song in Nashville for sure.
Yep.
So, very cool. Well, you mentioned another song in there that I want to talk about, and that's You Bring the Beer, I'll Bring the Noise. And the reason I want to talk about that one, that to me is more like an anthem. So do you feel like that song is an anthem for you?
I do in some aspects. So it's quite funny how that song came about. So that was the last song added to the lineup of songs that I had for Sal, because initially we had 5 songs going in, and we were like, we should really try to round it out with an upbeat song, just to have one more in our pocket. So I again turned to Shane. I was like, we are limited on time. I can't do this. I need your mind to work. So I told him, I said, write a song about me. I don't care what you write it about. Pray to God it's good. So he decided to write about my upbringing in Virginia, and he added the element of beer into the mix in case people out there have never been to Virginia. I do not like beer. I do not drink beer. I don't drink anything carbonated. So that's what I find hilarious about this song.
I don't drink anything that's not carbonated.
The overall message is you bring the beer. I'll bring the noise. I ain't bring the beer.
That's pretty cool. I swear to you, I don't drink anything that's not carbonated.
Oh, God. I can't do it. I was never one of those kids that drank pop, anything like that. I don't drink pop. I don't drink anything bubbly, anything like that. So
soda.
No,
Not
pop.
soda.
But yeah, that song, I do think he did a very good job at writing, and it actually is now my most streamed song on Spotify. It recently just surpassed over 250,000 streams. And that was just incredible to me in general because, I mean, it's hard for individuals out there to get their streaming numbers up. It is a difficult task.
yeah.
We live in a world that is technological and all about social media and streaming, and that's a blessing and a curse.
So let's talk about technology for a minute. You know, technology changes every day, and it's definitely changed from when I was your age till now. But from when you've started till now, what have you seen change in technology, and is it working for you?
Well, there's a whole lot of things, like you said, that's been added to technology. One of the biggest things now is AI, and that was a blessing and a curse because, I mean, for those that did not know, Randy Travis just released a new song that was AI generated, and that was incredible. And, I mean, it is a blessing in a stance of, you know, this is a man that's been in the music industry for longer than I've been alive. And, you know, unfortunately, he does have the health issues that he does have, and it's difficult for him to be able to go into a studio and record, but he still has the passion and drive to still put out new material for all of his fans out there to listen to. And I think that that's incredible that we do live in a world where we are able to access AI and do those kind of things. It's a little scary because it's very advanced, but I think that's pretty cool. But as far as with it changing, especially when I was younger, I mean, I was born in 2002, and a very big thing when I was younger was, of course, YouTube. People would just post whatever on YouTube and hope that they get a couple of views. And in today's world, I mean, that's all anybody wants right now is like, you know, how many followers do you have? How many streaming numbers do you have? How many views on this Facebook video or this reel do you have? And I am not the biggest fan of it. I always tell people that I felt I was born in the wrong era because I would have loved nothing more than to have been born in like Loretta's era where you could just waltz into a radio station and be like, here's my record, I want you to play it, and I'm going to talk to you whether you like it or not. Like, I love talking to people. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. And I wish I had been born in that time. But I'm sure a lot of them may have been like, I wish I had been born in this time because now everybody can access your music from all around the world. So it's definitely got its pros and cons.
Yeah, I always say I wish I was born in the 50s or grew up in the 50s. I think that would have been the best time. I love technology, don't get me wrong. But I do think the simplicity of growing up in the 50s probably would have been pretty cool.
Yes.
So you mentioned YouTube and you mentioned Spotify with the streams. It's almost how an artist gets judged, or it is how an artist gets judged these days. And you're very successful at it. You're getting the plays, you're getting the views, and it's working for you. Do you notice now because of that, you're getting more attention from the industry itself?
Not necessarily, because at the end of the day, the music business is a very tricky business. And at the end of the day, it is a lot of times about who you know. And this is definitely an industry where connections are a big deal. Networking is a big deal. And that was exactly why I moved to Nashville, so that I can go out there and be able to meet all of these new songwriters and musicians and be able to work with all these different producers and just get to know everybody, because at the end of the day, it's just like a big spider web. Like, you meet this person, they'll let you meet this person, and they know this person, and it's all a big just like 360, just a never-ending circle. And it just honestly varies, because at the end of the day, it's all in the Lord's hands, and whatever He wants to happen to you is going to happen, and you just got to accept it and not question it and just hope for the best.
I mentioned I grew up in Boston, and I worked in Boston when I first started, but then moved to New York and worked there for about 10 years before moving to Nashville. And when I moved to Nashville, that's when the spider web, as you say, happened, and that's when I started meeting people and things really started taking off. So you really do have to be in the area for things to happen. There might be an outlier or an exception here or there. But for the most part, if you want to make it in the industry, you have to be where that industry is.
Yes, 100%.
So let's take a step back. Who inspired you to get into country music and get you into Nashville in the first place?
So who inspired me to get into country? So I always, as a child, listened to everything. I would, on my iPod, I would be listening to Miranda Lambert. I would be listening to Pink. I'd be listening to, my brother would show me different bands like Hailstorm and Evanescence and all of these different bands. Like I listened to everything. And then I got into middle school and I was learning all about Broadway and everything like that. So I've always had a very diverse taste. The artists that really influenced me into country music were definitely, Miranda Lambert, Carrie Underwood. I liked Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean. I liked all of them growing up as a child. But I never really decided to market myself into country music until I got basically in my later teens. Because when I was younger, I always was like, I don't need to put myself in a genre. I can just do whatever I want. And that was not the case. Especially like when I had started my shows when I was 14, I had not yet learned the guitar. I was only playing the keyboard. That was a pain to carry it around everywhere at my shows. But I mean, I would go from song to song. I would play You're Looking at Country by Loretta Lynn to go into When You're Gone by Avril Lavigne, playing Demi Lovato. I mean, I did a whole bunch of everything. But my family are actually the ones that helped me figure out what genre career path I wanted to go down. Because I would sing all of these things, and the one genre that I sounded the most natural with was country. That was the genre that I was the most comfortable with singing. Although I loved singing Evanescence, my voice was not meant for it. But they were really the ones that helped push me into country music, and I'm glad they did because, I mean, it is very natural to me. It's very comfortable for me to sing, and I just love singing it. I love listening to all of the different kinds of artists, especially in today's world, singing it. So that's really what got me motivated into just doing country music, was just continuing and seeing what I liked, and this is what it was.
Well, it's kind of cool that you say it like that, because you have to have a whole wide range of influences in order to develop who you are and what's going to eventually make you different than anybody else that's in the genre that you choose. But growing up, again, in Boston, spending time in New York, I was into rock music. That was the type of music I enjoyed. And then when I got to Nashville, it was all country music. And I spent the majority of my career doing country music, but it wasn't until you narrow that niche down to a specific genre or a specific area where you truly start to shine and take off. So if you're trying to please everybody, you're really pleasing nobody. Mm-hmm. So you really have to narrow that down. And for you, it was narrowing it down to country music. And now you can see how that has helped you. And now you're able to truly take off and shine. So you've mentioned a lot of killer names in there, a lot of people that I really like. Is there any one of those that you would like to collaborate with?
Well, I always wanted to collaborate with Loretta, but the Lord took her. So that was a very, very heartbreaking day for me because, I've been very fortunate in this world to have not lost a family member that I'm close to. I have been very, very fortunate because I know I've had some friends and they have had some rough passes in their family. And when Loretta died, that was very difficult because I just always loved Loretta. She was one of the very first people I ever started listening to. I was in my little trailer park when I was like 6 years old, and I would be listening to her music, getting on top of the counter, singing "You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man," not even understanding what that song was about. And I loved everything about her. And on October 4th, which is literally the day after my mother's birthday, I was just a wreck. My PR was very worried about me, texting me, being like, "Are you okay?" Because I loved nothing more than Loretta Lynn, and I wanted to meet her so badly, and I was so close. But I guess heaven needed more joy, So I always wanted to collaborate with her, but as far as living, I love, 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 love Ashley McBryde. That woman is incredible. I met her at Walmart and was a complete idiot.
Where else would you meet her?
I met her at Walmart and was an idiot because I was just too stunned to speak. But I love everything about her. I think she is a phenomenal singer, a killer songwriter. There are verses in her songs and lines that I just could not even think to write. Like, it's incredible to me. And she has just worked her tail off for so long. And she has finally, I feel, started to earn the credit that she deserves. And I hope one day I get to sing with her. And if I meet her again at Walmart, then I'm going to have a better time talking.
It cracks me up. And only in Nashville can you run into people at Walmart.
Yep.
William Lee Golden was on the show last week, and he is performing with the Goldens at Loretta Lynn's Ranch.
Oh, wow.
The one that I think he would be great at collaborating with was Luke Bryan.
Oh, really?
Only because I think the voices would complement each other.
Well, I don't really know. I definitely was more of a fan of Luke's music in the later 2000s. I do like some of his music now, but definitely, back then you had Do I, you had so many different songs of his that I just absolutely adored. And, as he's started to put out more music, I haven't listened to much of them, which, of course, I know there's a lot of people out there that are album people. I was never an album person. I just liked various songs.
Killing me.
The only album I will say that I listened to all the way through was Lindyville. And that was Ashley McBryde's last album, not the one she just recently did, but she had been promoting Lindyville, and I was like, okay, I'm very intrigued by this album and I want to listen to it. And it is a concept album and it is incredible. Nobody ever does that in country music. But yeah, I was definitely a person where I just liked to listen to songs. I never really got into the whole album.
Killing me.
I know.
You're killing me.
Sin.
Stop. Just stop.
Sin.
Oh, as a producer and an engineer who grew up putting albums together, it just kills me. It kills me. I understand the whole single concept these days, I do, but no, it kills me. The Luke Bryan song that my daughter and I bond over, and it's on our playlist when we travel, is Play It Again.
That one's a good song. And I like to Play It Again, and I just like to do I a lot.
All right, so what keeps you motivated right now to keep moving forward when the industry is in such a flux?
What keeps me motivated? I guess just bringing back country, because I feel like Lainey in today's world is a prime example of that. I feel like that's why a lot of people like Lainey Wilson, because she does have that country vocal to her. Because especially in today's world with country music, you have so many different subgenres. You have rock country, you have blues country, you have pop country, rap country, rock country, soul country, every country you could think of. I think the one thing they have left out is operatic country. I don't think that exists.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. But I just miss the country. That's what I miss. I miss the world of, when you had Brooks and Dunn and you had George Strait and Garth Brooks and Miranda Lambert, you had country. Not to be confused with traditional country like Tammy and Loretta and George, but just country. And that is one thing that a lot of the individuals on my social media pages have said about me. I hate calling them followers. I hate calling them that.
Friends.
I call them friends. I hate followers because I just feel like that's just so monotone. And I am very fortunate to have all of the friends on my page. I've had people on there that have been following my journey since I was 15 years old, and I would not be anywhere without them. And that I do go through and read every single comment. I've had people on there they comment and they're like, do you really react to all of our comments? Do you really comment to certain ones? And I'm like, yes, that is me. I don't have bots or anything like that go through each comment and heart them. That's me doing all of it. And I am definitely my worst critic because some of the comments may not be the best. And you know what? That's okay. At the end of the day, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But the biggest thing that I do appreciate people saying is that I have that country sound and that I am bringing back the sound of country music. So that's what keeps me going.
You really do. And even in the names you mentioned there, I mean, they're iconic names. My wife loves Miranda. That's probably her favorite. But I just had a chance. I took my 9-year-old daughter to see Brooks and Dunn, and it was awesome. I mean, she had the time of her life. Yeah. It was just an amazing time. I notice you've been playing quite a bit lately, and you've had matter of fact, you have a show coming up in the area where I was married, and that's Jackson, Tennessee. My wife's family is from the Jackson area.
Wow.
With playing all these shows, you have to have some stories of things that not only went well, but maybe some things that did not go so well on the road.
Oh my gosh. So things that did not go well. So I have been fortunate that my shows are pretty much, for the most part, smooth sailing. When I was 14, yes, I had entered the West Virginia State Fair singing competition. And it's a big deal. The West Virginia State Fair is a huge deal in West Virginia. I mean, they have a big event every year. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that show up, and they have a big lineup this year. I know that they have Oliver Anthony coming, and his tickets, I believe, are sold out, and they got a bunch of different people coming. I know they sometimes have some interesting acts. Like, I think they've had Usher, they've had Nelly. It's interesting to have them come to West Virginia. Just
what I would expect.
But they have a hoot. They have a hoot. But I had entered the West Virginia State Fair singing competition, and I was like 14, and this is, again, during a time where I did not pick country as my genre. I just sang songs that made me happy, and I picked 2 songs because they were saying that you had the first round, and then there'd be a cut, and then you'd be in the last round. And then that was the final round to see who made it through and then who was going to be the winner. So I had 2 songs prepared. I had Because of You by Kelly Clarkson, and then I had Call Me When You're
Great
Sober
song.
by Evanescence. Those were the 2 songs I had. And I don't even think I was 14 at this time. I think I honestly may have been 12. I don't even know. It's between 12 and 14. This was a terrible, terrible time. But I had went and I performed Because of You first, and I made it through the final round. And I could have chose to have sang the Kelly Clarkson one for the last round. But my parents were like, you've worked so hard on this last song, you should go up there and just do your best. So I went up there, and I have no idea what happened. I do not. I just remember I looked at one of the judges, which happened to be a pageant winner. I don't know if it was for the state of West Virginia, if it was for the county, I don't know. But I looked at her with that big crown on her head, and I was like, it's game over. I'm so terrified. So I sang Call Me When You're Sober, and I like to say I sang it as like the goat remix. I was so terrified. I shook so bad I sounded like a goat. And I got off stage, ran to the bathroom, sobbed my eyes out. It was a terrible time. But that was probably the worst performance of my entire life. And that taught me so many different things at a very young age. And at that point, I was like, nothing's going to beat that. Nothing's going to be as worse as that could be. So from that point on, it was just an uphill climb.
What are the biggest takeaways that you hope people get from listening to your music?
I guess what you see is what you get. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, one thing that I've been definitely working on for especially the year 2024 is putting out my own music. I am in the process of doing so now. Next month is actually when I'm going to be releasing my new single, and this will be one of the very first songs that I've ever released that I have written myself. And that is a little bit scary and exciting at the same time. But I am very fortunate on the sense of I am glad that my voice can do a couple of different things. Like, although I do love to sing country, I do have kind of a soulful blues element to my voice as well at times. And I do know a lot of people out there, my song selection with recording has kind of been all over the place because you have songs like Drag and Life Gives You Love that are a little bit more pop country. Life Gives You Love definitely has a lot more soulful blues elements to it. And then you have a little of both, which is kind of on the line of pop country and country. But, as we continue releasing, 18 Wheels and You Bring the Beer, I feel like we were kind of gravitating more towards a country genre that I wanted to be classified in. So I'm very excited to be starting to release my own music that I have written, and that is where you're just going to see that this is me, this is what my vocals are, this is how I sound. If you like it, cool. If you don't, maybe there's something else for you.
Well, you mentioned releasing the song that you wrote. Have you recorded it yet?
Yes, I did. I recorded it last month. It was either at the end of March or in April. Like I said, everything is it's surprising me that we're even in May. Like, I felt like New Year's just hit. Like, it's insane to me. But yes, I did just record these two.
It's June.
No, it's not. No.
Okay.
My milk expires in 2 days. I know it's not June.
Nice. So the song that you recorded, this upcoming single, have you had an opportunity to listen to it over 100 times yet?
I have.
Does it still give you that same feeling?
Yes, I am very excited about this song. I cannot wait to see what people think. It is definitely out there because people have never really heard how my writing is. People have heard, if they've been on my musical journey for a while, I have put out a video of an unreleased song that I wrote, which is called Life's Game. It is about my mama. She has Alzheimer's, and I decided to write that song subjected around the illness. And it is not currently out right now. I have a big project that I want to be working on with that song. But I'm just excited to see how people take to my writing style because I am very critical of myself, especially when it comes to songwriting, because that was one thing that I did struggle with a lot was, you have Shane who can write about anything in one day. Like, I'll tell him, write about a man jumping off a house with an umbrella and going through a portal into the 80s, and he will write it. Whereas me, I can either write a song immediately that day as it came to me, or it's like bits and pieces come to me over the course of time. And it drives me up the wall because I wish I could just sit down and write a song every single day. But unfortunately, I'm just not that kind of songwriter. But I am proud of the song that is going to be coming out, and I just hope that everybody out there enjoys it as much as I do.
Well, I'm excited for it. All right, well, we do this thing here we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a minute to shine the light on somebody who works behind the scenes or somebody who may have supported you along the way. Do you have anybody you'd like to shine a little light on?
God.
I guess God could be an option, sure.
I always say my mom in these questions, but I'm going to be different this time because my mom knows how much that I appreciate her support. I'm sorry. But one person in my life that I am just beyond thankful for on so many different levels is my PR guy, Scott Sexton. I'm trying so hard not to get emotional, but this guy has been in my corner since I was 19 years old. And, that's kind of a big deal. And when I came into contact with Scott, and for him to actually give me a chance in just being a client was just unreal. And he has honestly helped me in so many different ways. He's taught me so many different things. He's had me experience so many incredible opportunities. There have been moments of happiness and joy. There have been moments of downfall and questioning, but that man has never once ever doubted my ability in the music industry. and he has always been in my corner no matter what, and he has stood by me in times where I didn't even know if I needed to be stood by. And I am so appreciative of him, and I love him more than words could ever begin to describe. He is one of my biggest, best friends in the entire world. He is basically family. He's family to me, and I just appreciate him and all that he does for me behind the scenes. And yeah.
A big thanks to Mackenzie for taking the time to share her stories with us, and thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. I really do appreciate it. If you know anybody that would enjoy this episode, please be sure to share it. You can do that and find the links to everything mentioned over at jfranzi.com/episode 73. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franzi Show. Make sure you visit us at jfranzi.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.